You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.
And now we move on to our regular agenda. As I said, we're going to take the veterans issue first, although we've had a couple comments on Mule Creek already. But Veteran Services, discussion and possible action relative to the Board of Supervisors' position regarding veterans organizations. Mr. Eiley, would you like to lead off, or do we want to let Mr. Sanders go ahead?
I can summarize how the question came to the board, and it arose from me having a conversation with Mr. Sanders, and the understanding that there was confusion with the ACVO, as it was called, but distinguishing in the community between us and between the county services and the services that they provided. And there was a request that had come through the ACCF for assistance, and seeing that this would probably come to a head somehow with us being asked for assistance, I asked the board for direction, and that went to admin with how you want staff to deal with organizations that also serve veterans. Because there is a duplication of services, there is a great deal of area where we do not duplicate services, and I just wanted to get some direction for staff.
Okay. Terry, do you want to start with any comments, or you're happy and content where you are?
I'm ready.
I want to lead off this discussion by saying, look, we're all friends in this room. Some of us may have different ideas how to do things, but all of us respect the service of our veterans. We have one veteran on our board, Supervisor Novelli, but all of us respect the service of our veterans, and all of us, some of us have family members who were active in the past and are on active duty now. So our obligation is to try and serve veterans the best as possible, and I think that's another reason this issue came up, is for this board to look at our Veteran Services Officer, how we view that position, and I think we want to try and facilitate the best operations for our veterans. So with that, Terry?
Right. Terry Sanders, Amador County Veteran Service Officer, and I too would like to start off with a little preamble, and I've made this known. I don't like doing this. We're all here to help veterans. That's really what it's about. However, with that being said, there's confusion being caused by, one, the name of his organization that I'm going to ask the board to consider asking him to change, and the way he represents himself as in misleading, misguiding, misinterpreting emails that is sent out to, I don't know who. All I know is I can look at the ones that I receive from him about his organization. Now, I have put on your desk there a stack. I'd like you to start with the one on the top that's from Shelley Barretts. Shelley Barretts is the Calaveras County Veteran Service Officer. Last Monday in the admin meeting, Mulford made reference that he has a great working relationship with Shelley. They have collaborated on claims. And he also said that she attended all the meetings of his ACT, Amador Calaveras Tuolumne collaboration. And I've only attended one, and I was late at the other one, which was so late I didn't even make it, all right? But I was late. Anyway, in her response, she says she talked to them, meaning Mulford, about possibly having one of my veterans move into their home, which ended up not happening. Yes?
When you say that I was late, you're speaking, to a meeting, you're speaking
For myself.
Okay.
For myself.
She said in here also.
She said she was late also, and I was going to get to that next sentence. But yes, we were both late. I was so late I didn't even make it. I missed the whole thing. Everybody was in the parking lot. In fact, I was meeting Mr. Novelli there at the time. All right, and then she goes on to say, I have not been to meetings in Tuolumne County, and I was late to the last one since I did not need to hear about the hospice program again. That's her email she sent to me in response to my question. Now, understand that Amador, Calaveras, Tuolumne, ACT, to shorten it, collaborative goes to Amador, Calaveras, and Tuolumne County. All three of those counties have a veteran service officer. Why would I need to go to Calaveras and Tuolumne County? I have attended the first one here at Amador County. I was one of his guest speakers. I spoke there about my services. I was there the whole time. I have every intention of going to all of those in Amador County. Unless you as board members decide that I need to go to Calaveras and Tuolumne County, I don't see a point that I go to those. All right. Turn the page. This is an email that Mr. Mulford has sent out to many people. Exactly how many, I do not know. Our first veteran self-service claim received their rating decision using e-benefits. The veteran was given a 0% rating after the Amador CVSO filed a claim on the veteran's behalf. After using our method, the veteran was rewarded a 100% permanent and total rating. Now, that email basically could be interpreted to mean whatever the previous CVSO did, he failed at his job and he got a 0% rating. And because of his e-benefits program, he now got a 100% rating. All right, that's basically what people read out of that email. That veteran that he's referring to is here. His name is William Bartley. If you'd like to, I could call him up now, or you could have him come up later.
He can come up on his own time.
Okay, all right. Turning the page. This,
Excuse me, Mr. Sanders?
yes.
For clarification for the audience and everybody here and some of the board members, would you explain e-benefits?
Well, e-benefits is a portal that veterans can use to service their own claims. They can view the process of the claims. They can file claims. They can look at all kinds of their personal data while they were on active duty, and they can see where their claim is in the VA process. It's actually a great thing. It really is. I have no complaints at all about e-benefits. All right? And that's the purpose of e-benefits. All veterans should have an e-benefits account. They should. All right, now the next one I have is from the Amador Community College Foundation. And this is a letter sent by Michael Kurokorian to Karen. He says, wow, I was totally unaware of this. I was also unaware that the organization Jason represents was his creation. This is truly beyond what I want to deal with. As such, I feel better that I distanced myself from Jason and his group. I would prefer to deal with Terry Sanders, the official CV representative, when addressing veterans' issues. I did sense from my meeting with Jason a sense of self-importance and a need to make a point of his disabled status as if it were a crutch or a badge of merit he likes to display. I empathize with the veterans he represents, but he appears to do so in a manner that seeks to undermine the authority and services provided by Terry's office with his authorized by military and veterans code. Under these circumstances, I will deal solely with Terry. All right, now, there's a little history about what's going on and why Mike Kurokorian wrote that email. Basically, if you read the next one down, and I'm not going to read the next one down, you can read it. Mulford had posted on the Amador County College Foundation an email that I had sent to him. And that email had stated that I do not support nor oppose his organization. That was the brief of the email, all right? And I know he has sent that email train to you guys. All right, so turn the page. Now, this is an email from Jason to me. How did the second meeting go for the Veterans Treatment Court? As the volunteer organization, team coordinator, and veteran treatment service provider, not sure why you didn't include our organization at the meeting. Our organization established the VTC initial meeting and is the local service provider. Heard there were a lot of unanswered questions since we were not present. Very interested in your role in the VTC. All right? Now, there's several statements in there. First and foremost, understand that I didn't set up the second meeting. Judge Harlan did. She called me. She asked me to be there. She was disappointed I wasn't at the first one because my role at that VTC is to verify that the inmate is in fact a veteran. That's my role. I have nothing else to do about it except verify that they're a veteran. All right? So also he says he is the local service provider. Now I would think that there would have to be some sort of contract involved with that. Is there one? I don't know. All I know is that this VTC is in the intimate stage of development. I do know that Mr. Al Lennox approached Judge Harlan about this a couple of years ago. I don't know exactly how that worked out. That was before me, before I was here. He could talk about that if he remembers. However, the point is also I want to understand you to understand that we all assumed he was going to be there. When I say assumed is that when Judge Harlan showed up into her courtroom and we all sat down and started talking about what was going on, she said, well, let's hold on a minute. I expect the Mulfords to be here. So we did. We waited 2 or 3 minutes. I don't know the exact amount of time. They were expected to be there. Right? Just like this morning. I didn't call him to be here this morning. He's expected to be here. Right? Now, whether or not Judge Harlan called him, I do not know. All right. Turning the page. Another email from Mulford to me. U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs is going to contract with ACVO as a VA medical outpatient office. That means the veterans in Amador County will no longer need to travel to VA Medical Center Mather. That also means that ACVO will provide veterans justice outreach at our Victory Village, Amador.
Excuse me, Terry.
Yes.
I'd just like to say it for the record also, too, that veterans could travel anywhere. Also, too, that veterans could travel anywhere. They don't have to just go to Mather's. Some
Sure.
could go to Sonora, some could go to Menlo Park, some could go to
Palo Alto. They can go
wherever they
anywhere
want to go.
But the point is that he's making a false, misleading statement. Because I contacted, if you turn the page, Kimmy Ezekiel, who is the Northern California Rural Health Coordinator. I asked her on the telephone, what the heck? She responds, and she sends it to both me, Jason, and Nicole. Per our phone conversation between her and I want to be clear that the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs does not have a contract with ACVO. End of story. However, he sends out emails that says he's going to contract. Now, I want to go to the moon one day. That doesn't mean I'm going to go there. All right? So it's just false, misleading statements that he continually sends out. Now, turn the page, and this next two are going to be about his website. Not an expert on the Governor's California Interagency Council on Veterans. I contacted the Legal Beagles in Calvet up in Sacramento and asked them to take a look at his website. This is the response I got from Sandy Monaghan. As you can tell, she's the lead policy analyst of Health Work Group. Clearly states on here that I was just reviewing your website and found that you may have misinterpreted the Executive Order B911 that created the council. I have attached a copy of the language, and it calls for none of the goals as stated on your website. The main reason for the council is simple yet complex, and then it's underlined what it is. And then the next one down, she says, I suggest you strike the other language. On another note, who appointed you to be co-chair of the Affordable Housing Subgroup? I do not know the history of that appointment. How long have you been attending the meetings? Thereby, again, on his website, he's putting misinformation that was corrected by Ms. Monaghan, and she is the lead policy analyst at the Health Work Group. Now, the last page is again on his website, Victory Village, Amador, Amador County /Veteran Statistics. I'm going to tell you straight up Most, if not all, of those numbers on that page are 100% inaccurate. All right? He talks about a comparison for 1 year of 2012. You look at his budget. He writes 7,404 compared to my 120,917. I don't see how an office on Scottsdale Boulevard and a motel can operate for $7,000. I just don't see it, but I am not money guy, so I don't know. That's not for me to decide. However, if you go over to total veteran services provided, he has 99 for him. He has 67 for my office for 2012. Well, understand that 67 is only a 6-month, not a year, thereby making it an inaccurate number. And also understand that 67 are only countable workload units. He's counting 99, that could be anything. He could request a DD 214 for a veteran. That does not count for me. He's counting it for him. A veteran needs a Social Security card. He counts that. Driver's license. He counts that. Those are things that I can't do that are not counted. Yeah.
Excuse me, Terry, would you explain a little bit so that the board members and the people in the audience could understand what a workload unit is?
A workload unit is a claim generated by a county veteran service officer when a veteran comes in and wants to file a claim. There are only certain items that are countable, and you can only have one claim counted for that veteran at a time. And what makes that important is when I do a claim for a veteran for, let's say, their initial 21-5-26, and at the same time the veteran is married and has 3 kids, I cannot do another claim for the 686. But if I did them separately, meaning that the 526 comes back adjudicated, then I can do a 686 and count that. All right, but the point being is that there's only certain claims that I do that are countable, to include CW5s that I get from the County Wealth Social Services Department. I might get 10 of them in a week, but only one of them counts as a workload unit because it has a certain code on it. The other 9 I don't count as a workload unit, and understand I still do the same process for all 10 of them. Yes?
You know, I have a question. I'd like to know if some of these numbers are correct. Maybe if you could help me a little bit. I have a letter here dated April 4th, 2013. It's from the Department of Veteran Affairs, and it's addressed to Richard Forrester, the chair. And it's from Mr. Peter Gravett, Secretary.
Secretary.
And it states on there, on an annualized basis, this amounts to more than $378,000 and some change in new benefit payments to veterans. In addition, your CVSO obtained $905,000 some change in one-time benefits, and this is on a yearly basis for the year of July 1st, 2011 through June 30th, 2012. Those numbers seem correct.
Those numbers on that?
Yeah.
Of course they are.
Yeah, I figured they were. I just wanted.
Right. Exactly. Added to what I'm saying here, that these numbers are incorrect, where those numbers are correct.
Yeah, this is coming from the Department of Veteran Affairs. And
Yeah, and signed by Secretary Gravett. And
Yeah.
the point of that letter for the board members is to understand the importance of my position and the money that's realized to the veterans in this county.
yeah, I'd say the benefit coming from your position,
Right, exactly.
your work. Okay, thank you.
All right, well, that concludes those emails. Any
Okay.
questions on what I just talked about?
Mr. Sanders, I'd just like to ask a bit of a follow-up question, and could you explain to me, and hopefully the folks in the audience again, the difference between processing, the difference for the veteran on behalf of further legal representation as they proceed through their claims process if they choose to appeal something, if they filed that claim on e-benefits themselves or through a uncertified organization versus having filed that claim through a county veteran service office?
Yes, I understand the question. The point is and also on e-benefits, the veteran, while they're filing the claim, they can elect at that time to have a VSO representative. Just because they're doing it on e-benefits does not mean that they do not have or cannot opt to have a representative.
Okay.
Well, I'll start with that.
Okay.
And the second part is, if they do not have a representative, and the claim comes back and they disagree with it. Of course, they can go through the natural process of a notice of disagreement, then a VA Form 9 appeal. But at some point, they can have their day in court, all right? And at that point, if they don't have a power of attorney with a lawyer, that lawyer that they have to go out and get is on their dime. That's going to cost them. all
Whereas
right?
if they'd have done it through the county service.
That's
veteran
correct.
service officer, they have that.
That, I have lawyers,
Legal
whether I
representation.
file the claim through the American Legion or I file the claim through California Departments of Veterans Affairs or VFW or AMVETS, they have at the VA regional offices lawyers ready to go at no fee to the veteran. So that's a very important question. Thank you for asking.
Barry, on the one letter from Sandy Monaghan with the Governor's California Interagency Council on Veterans, can you explain she talks about appointment to the affordable housing subgroup. Who makes that appointment then?
Nobody does. That was her point. He wasn't appointed, but he put on his website that he was.
Maybe at a meeting or whatever, agreed to serve
Well, you know,
as a co-chair.
he could explain more what happened at the meeting. I could voice my opinion on what happens is, hey, we have an opening for somebody on the co-chair who wants to volunteer. There's no appointment.
All volunteer basis.
And believe me, that's my opinion. I could be wrong. You know, when he goes up, you can ask him how that came about. But the point of this letter is that he was not appointed, and that's how he had it written on his website, which in many ways it might infer, you know, a little bit more importance. I don't know. Understand that all these emails that I just read and the inaccuracies on his websites, in my opinion, the false and inaccurate page and all this has only one purpose, and that's to deceive the public, not just veterans, but the public. Just one purpose. And I would say the same thing with the name of his organization. It's used to deceive the public. All right? Now, the next one, I'm going to move on to.
Definitely confuses the public, having the names, the initials so
Most
similar.
definitely.
Terry, I need to ask you, because some people requested specifically we move this up to the first item, so I might want you to hold off on going too much deeper right now until we get some comments from people if there is a time-sensitive nature for them to speak.
Okay, you want me to sit down?
Mr.
I'd
Chairman?
like you to hold off right now.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Is there any chance that because it was referenced in Terry's initial presentation that we could hear from Mr. William Bartley, who is referenced in this second letter? Just to keep things in context.
We'll hear
All right.
from Mr. Bartley, and then I'm going to ask for anyone that has to leave the meeting to go to work or whatever else
I
that they
apologize to
speak
those that
first.
I just delayed, but I feel it's good to keep things in context.
Good morning.
Morning. Hi, my name is William Bartley, and I'm just here to add some background, not to slander or anything else. First thing when I asked the county for help, I think, was in 2001 when Mr. Floyd Martin was in office. I got a 0% rating on the fact that I had a list of symptoms of, injuries. So I tried to do it myself, with the years going on through e-benefits, and failed as well. This last one that I did, I think, back in 2011, I had a diagnosis with it, I think, with my ailments. Mr. Mulford, I think, helped me to rewrite a supporting statement. And then I asked even the Congressman Tom McClintock for assistance as well in that claim. And I did get a 100% rating, but who is to say which help or was it the diagnosis that I got that got me the 100% rating? That's the problem I'm having, to say that his was the only reason why I got it. The reason why I got it was because the diagnosis that I have. That his was the only reason why I got it. The reason why I got it was because the diagnosis that I have of RSD. The evidence that we put back in the VA was old evidence back when I first initiated. The VA never even came to look at that. They went off the old or the new evidence that I was seeing by the doctors. Nothing that we put in there. I never showed Mr. Mulford the breakdown of what they seen or anything like that. So he cannot say for a fact that what was sent out was what was seen or the breakdown. I was actually getting a 100% rating before I even met Mr. Mulford, as the VA gives you an actual initial breakdown of the dates of when they give it to you and the percentages. And that is what I have to say for the message that he sent out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And have been for 20 years. Terry, our county veteran service officer, came to me and he said there had been some previous discussions regarding this issue and asked if I knew about those discussions, and I said yes I did, and I might be helpful to the board to clarify. So I'm here to clarify some issues. The history of the office, how did it get into the American Legion building? Well, if you'll recall, where the CVSO was previously was condemned. It wasn't ADA compliant, it wasn't earthquake compliant. The county needed a place to go. We made a offer to the county. We had an office available because we had just built our new ambulance offices. So we had that office available in the American Legion Hall. The county accepted that offer, but before we made the move, we went to every veterans organization in the county. We went to VFW, Purple Heart, Marine Corps League. We went to everyone and said, does anybody have an objection to an organization? No one did. They all thought it was a great idea. It was centrally located, and every veteran in the county knows where the American Legion Hall is. So if all we had to do was advertise that fact, it was a slam dunk for them to get to that facility. But there was a question of, I guess, the partnership. Well, it really goes back many years before that, and I believe Mr. Boychana will remember that when Supervisor John Begovich was the chairman of the board. The American Legion in Amador County entered into a contract for services. At that time, myself and Amador County Council John Hahn, we researched a public-private partnerships with nonprofit public benefit corporations in the state of California, merging issues and creating partnerships with municipalities. And it was found to be very workable endeavor. And the contract was crafted, and it was passed unanimously by the Board of Supervisors. To my knowledge, that contract is still in force and effect. Conflict of interest was discussed. The primary endeavor of the county veteran service officers to help veterans. The primary endeavor of the American Legion is to help veterans. There is no secondary issue that could conflict with the primary issue. So I know of no way there could be a conflict of interest. Influence. It was mentioned that Amador County, the American Legion, may have too much influence in the community. Well, we've been a community member for 94 years. We've provided ambulance service for 84 years. 40 or so nonprofit organizations use our facility every year.
You know, I think I'd like to say, Mr. Lennox, I think the veterans have earned their influence in our community.
Well, thank you, sir, and I appreciate that. I was about to say, though, I don't know how you measure influence. We like to look at it as goodwill. Goodwill, because that's one of the primary focuses of our organization is community service. Last year, again, our contributions were substantial. I think the medical clinic issue, I'm in healthcare. We have an ambulance service here in Amador County. My costs per ambulance, 24/7 ambulance, are approaching $900,000 a year per ambulance. I know what healthcare costs. I know what the regulations are. I know what staffing costs and insurance and equipment. It is mind-boggling to me that someone could claim to be able to put a clinic together and be state approved. Now, the last but not least, the filing of claims. You have a health problem, you go to a doctor. You have a legal problem, you go to a lawyer. Got a sick pet, you go to a veterinarian. If you have a VA claim that needs to be filed, you need to go to an accredited veteran service officer, not an individual that can assist you. They need to be accredited. It is too complex, it is too demanding, and it needs constant care throughout the entire claim process. A county veteran service officer or a veteran service officer that's accredited has that ability, has that knowledge. I know for a fact that first time, with that accreditation, a very rigorous test has to be taken. I know right now there's about a 40% fail rate the first time people take that exam. It's a very challenging exam. And I would never personally recommend to any veteran to have anyone file a claim other than an accredited veteran service officer. So I hope I've made some, I hope I've clarified some issues for the board. I feel very strongly about it. I know that our previous veteran service officer, terrific job. Terry here, certainly knowledgeable, certainly accredited, certainly certifiable, and no, not certified. But,
Credible.
I may be
Credentialed.
certifiable,
We all are at times, Al.
but he's doing a great job. So I hope I was of some help to you. In referring back to what Terry said about the Veterans Courts, a pilot project was started in California about 10 years ago in the higher volume Los Angeles, San Diego areas. And Veterans Courts were established to help bring some equity and some reasonableness to veterans with things like PTSD and other maladies, to get a little more fairness in the courts, a little more justice, if you will. I went to, and that pilot project has mushroomed around the state to the larger cities in the state. When I went to see Judge Harlan and Judge Richmond, they were very much in favor only, but the fact was, we just don't have the volume. You can't allocate, you can't make a veterans court with our volume and our resources. It would be impractical. But they both did say that it would be a mitigating issue. They would take that into consideration, and I at that time said, that's wonderful. If you would do that for us, at least take that into consideration. The veterans of this community would certainly appreciate it, and they both agreed to do so. And I haven't talked to Judge Hermanson, but I plan on doing that in the same regard. And he's a very nice man. I'm sure he'll feel the same way about it. So, and that's going back to what Terry said to you. So if there's any questions, I can answer.
I got one question, one comment. It's interesting you brought up that public-private partnership and the county entering into a contract when Supervisor Begovich was on board. And interesting that now that he's long gone, we have his picture upstairs with his foot, his boot on Mussolini's picture. So.
We have that in the facility, in our facility.
I have a comment. The county and the American Legion have had a long-standing relationship, and to the Legion's credit, 84 years of ambulance service to this community is a great testimonial. And it wasn't always a bed of roses. My dad, a World War II veteran, sat on the ambulance committee in the 60s. I still remember Don Vicini, Lieutenant Don Vicini, coming into the hardware store talking with my dad. There's lots of problems, but they stuck with it, and 84 years later, they still have a great ambulance service in this county. To their credit, we thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you. And I would like to go back to say the World War II veterans. These veterans today, we really realize what they did for America. We really do. Not only did they fight a great war, but when they came back, they contributed, and they had the wherewithal to stay in there on tough projects.
Mr. Lennox, I don't know if you've seen it, but the Board of Supervisors received a letter from Mr. Mulford, and one of the last sentences says, "What is confusing to most veterans is the CVSO office being located inside the American Legion Post 108 Hall." I take it you take exception to that statement?
I do, sir. I think the veterans organizations unanimously like it there. They understand why it's there. We had a nice facility. It is centrally located, and there isn't a veteran in the county that doesn't know where the American Legion Hall is. So I do take exception to that comment.
No, I'd like to also back up what Mr. Lennox said as far as the Veterans Treatment Court, because I went to one of the, I guess like a veterans, like a fair or what was available, and I was talking to a lady there, and she's telling me about the Veterans Court, and I thought, it might be a good idea to have one. So I, I approached one of the judges, I think it was Judge Harlan, and talked to her about it, and she told me exactly what you said, that there wasn't enough numbers that would justify having a set, like a special court just for them, but that they did take that into consideration when they were basically going through the process, like basically prosecuting somebody. So.
And thank you very much for that interest. That is, that you took that initiative to find out about it. I appreciate that.
Mr. Lennox, just for the record, could you state some of the different titles you've held through American Legion?
Well, my current title is National Executive Committeeman. I represent the state of California at the national level. My current title is National Executive Committeeman. I represent the state of California at the national level. Prior to the meeting, I gave you some handouts. I know you don't have enough reading to do, but I thought you might be interested in some of the national issues that are going on in Washington today as we speak. There are significant issues that the American Legion is working on, and I'm very happy to be part of that. I'm actually very happy to be representing California. I believe it's one of the better states in the nation for Veterans Affairs. And I'm a past state commander.
Thank you, sir.
That's good to know that we're good in one area.
Yeah. Good to know California is good.
Well, it is a challenge because I've noticed, if I've learned anything, is there's east of the Mississippi, they tend to look at things a little differently than the western United States do. And that is a challenge. They have a whole different mindset on many, many issues. And but California will continue to doggedly address those issues and make sure they're heard. So.
All right. Mr. Lennox, I'd just like to say as a veteran, thank you very much for all the work you've done. I know you personally and many others in American Legion and Post 108 have fought for veterans, both local and nationwide. So as a veteran, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Believe me, it's a labor of love. So,
Thank you, Al.
thank you.
Thank you.
I would ask if there's anybody with time sensitive that has to be out of here, if you wish to speak now. Otherwise, we'll just go by show of hands. Okay. Floyd? I'd like to go to Floyd, then Mr. Mulford next. So. Morning.
Good morning, Floyd Martin, retired veteran service officer. I wasn't going to speak today, but I wanted to say one thing after I heard Mr. Bartley speak, and I totally agree with him. I don't recall his claim back in 2001 coming back but zero, but he quoted the law, and I want you to realize he quoted the law to you. Title 38. The only reason his claim came back because he had new and material evidence to be seen. He had a new diagnosis. That's why his rating would have been overruled from 0 to whatever percentage it would have been. That is in the law, Title 38. New and material evidence. It does not matter who filed a claim or who filed a claim to begin with. I can tell you right now, I've got a claim that's been pending for 5 years. And the only way it's going to get overturned is new and material evidence. So I have to agree with what Mr. Bartley had to say, but I want you to realize that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Floyd.
Mulford, come on up if you wish to speak now, otherwise I'll take other speakers. All right. Come on up, sir. Morning.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Pancho.
Morning.
My name is Albert Pancho Villa. I think a lot of you know me as Pancho, and I am a Vietnam veteran, combat, 6970. I belong to the American Legion Post 108. I do have claims into the VA, and I am now going to Mather for my hospital attendance. What I'd like to stress here today, this morning, is the importance of veterans. You all know the importance of a veteran. Don't need to do to a veteran, confuse him. Important as claims are, you need a single point contact so that a veteran can go there and he knows where to go. It's not like a grocery store where you have multiple grocery stores where this gentleman can go to. You need that single point contact. And that single point contact has to be of importance. It has to be represented by the VA. It has to be honorable. It has to be the place to go to get something done. If you have another satellite system out there, the satellite system fails, not only is that failed, but the veteran has failed with the claim that he has put in. So I'm just up here this morning to let you gentlemen know that as a veteran, I would want to go to one place and one place only, and that would be to our VA officer. Thank you, gentlemen, for my time. Do I need to sign in, or?
Yes, please.
Thank you, sir.
Also, Mr. Villa, when you say you're VA officer, are you talking like the Amador County Veteran Service Officer?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was referring to our veterans here in Amador County, the office.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
because believe me, I do have issues. I'd much rather go there.
Excuse me, Bunch, Sergeant 11 Bravo. One question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever heard of anybody complaining about our Veteran Service Office being
No, sir.
located at the
No,
Legion
sir.
Hall?
I have never heard of anybody complaining about Floyd Martin or about Terry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Other comments? All right, Mr. Mulford. I'm not seeing anyone right now. That doesn't mean they're precluded from coming up later. So.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me here today. How are you guys doing? Where do I start?
Can you do me a favor? Can you pull them? Yeah, either stand right in front of it or pull it right over. Thank you.
Hear me now. Is that good? There we go. I can hear it now. Okay, let's start with Terry Sanders' comments.
Probably should state your name for the record so that's
Yes, sir.
clear.
I apologize. My name is Jason Mulford from Pioneer, California. Terry stated Shelley Barrett's that in last week's meeting I commented I work with claims with Shelley. That's incorrect. I said we work on veteran services with Shelley. Correction on that one. Mr. Bartley, I won't comment on that. It's a HIPAA and Privacy Act violation for me to make any comments regarding his. I don't have a release to do so, so I will not. Comments from Michael from the Amador Community College Foundation. I've never seen that email, so I can't make comment on that either. Veterans Treatment Court. I received a letter following that meeting that I was not invited to. Judge Harlan apologized, assured me that all future meetings we will be attending and invited to. I just went ahead and sent a response to Judge Harlan, which I CC'd Supervisor Novelli. He has the supporting documentation and the responsive records. I'd like to add on Thursday of this week, Thursday, that barring any plea bargain that doesn't go through, our Veterans Treatment Court may be established in a alternative manner, and that the court may be releasing to our recognizance in our program at Victory Village our first veteran for treatment for 6 months. So when that occurs, our Veterans Treatment Court will be established, but on an alternative basis. More clarification will be provided through Duncan McVicker at the California Veterans Legal Task Force.
I heard a lot of maybes.
Yes, sir.
And it could happen, so.
It was Matt Ninke, who is the attorney.
Yeah, I'm expecting that we'll get notification if and when it does happen.
I will definitely send notification, gentlemen.
But does that become your first treatment case, or does it establish the VTC, the Veterans Court?
It'll be our 4th treatment case. We have 2 voluntary and 1 probation order treatment service for veterans in our custody right now. The probationer was ordered by Probation Officer James King to attend our treatment program and was approved by local probation department. The other 2 are volunteers, and their services are provided at no cost. We provide 30 days housing and on-site services with Dr. Bowie as our medical doctor overseeing it. Our car-approved counselor is Ken Mays. He's also the drunk driver program counselor for Amador County. He's also a veteran. We have a peer counselor, Todd Doris, retired from CAL FIRE. He is a certified in anger management, PTSD, and mindfulness training. And we do a collaborative of treatment services directed to veterans and veteran issues related. Any other questions on that? Does that answer your question, sir?
Just the distinction between a treatment center versus a court?
Yes, sir.
Treatment court.
It'll be the first court ordered for Veterans Treatment Court.
Are you coordinating this with the judges?
The 1 treatment court, yes. The probationer is coordinated through probation, because it's already been, the order has already been established by the court. The court has issued their ruling, and he was sentenced, and part of the sentencing was he must attend a 30-day treatment program of one shape or form. We went to the probation department with the veteran came to us, we submitted our program, probation approved the program, and allowed the entry into our program. Does that answer your question, sir? Kinda.
I guess I'm just trying to couple that with what Mr. Sanders presented earlier, that and what Mr. Lennox talked about, the volume. I guess we don't have volume, so you have to structure it a different way.
Yes, sir. It's an alternative calendar. So if, like in San Diego County, they have 20 veterans, they try to attempt to use that ceiling number for all veterans treatment as a formal PC 1170.9 alternative to that. So what they do is they schedule a calendar on a monthly basis. 1 month, the team coordinator comes in, goes to booking, and goes to the court. They gather all the information, they index that information, and they determine which veterans would be eligible for an alternative sentencing program under the alternative court. So we're doing model our program directly after San Diego. It was founded in Orange County. That judge, I've spoken with him and his office about how to start it here. They sent us all their forms and documents on the policies and procedures, the rulings, forms needed, intake counseling, the whole thing. We have it all, and we're going to make it for Amador County specific. Does that answer your question, sir?
Do you need any kind of anything from the Veterans Administration or anything else to make this happen?
The Veterans Administration uses what they call the Veterans Justice Outreach Program, and that's coordination of the Veterans Medical.
Anything else to make this happen?
The Veterans Administration uses what they call the Veterans Justice Outreach Program, and that's coordination of the Veterans Medical Center for our region. We're in Visin 21, the borderline for Palo Alto or Mather. They're the main medical facilities. Calaveras line for Amador, so everyone in Amador County has to go to Mather VA. They don't have to. That's their Visin number they're assigned to. If you can, like, one of the supervisors, he goes to Tuolumne for his outpatient care, which is assigned to Palo Alto. Palo Alto and Mather both have justice outreach programs. We're coordinating with the veterans' individual treatment and the outreach program. The outreach program coordination, we have spoke with Kimmy Ezeki and Sue Cooper. Sue Cooper is the coordinator. we're going to be building a relationship with them. The contracting that we were speaking about, the medical clinic, won't go through till October 1st due to fiscal funding. And we'll have the opportunity to bid on that contract. The contract would be a coordination of medical services under the Justice Outreach Program, because it's under the medical supervision, and then Justice Outreach coordinators go underneath that. So once we are established with our treatment program, we do a contract with the VA. The VA then will allow us to do VTEL, which is a virtual portal. So we'll have a little monitor and a camera. The veteran can sit there and coordinate directly with the Justice Outreach Program in Mather, which will have their treatment there, the PTSD counseling, substance abuse, co-occurring disorders, other things that are led into PC 1170.9.
Bid on the contract for what? Based on what?
To actually take veterans' health care, just as if we were a veterans center ourselves. So right now, we're a fee-based center, so a veteran can come to us with his private medical care, TRICARE, CHAMP VA, or a fee-based referral from the medical clinic. Dr. Bowie can then see that patient right now. In the future, once the contract goes through, we will be able to take a veteran without any medical care or fee-based referral, come directly to us, check in with their VA medical ID card, and directly bill each visit, not the veteran service provided, but the visit, and it's a scheduled, it's scheduled.
Right,
so, okay, does that answer your question now, sir? Okay. Where were we? Oh, we are a veteran service provider. We are the only state of California Department of General Services certified nonprofit veteran service agency. I was also included in the package I gave to you guys. It's California Law Military Veterans Code 99.50 through 99.51. Yes, sir.
Also, in looking through the package you gave us, under attachments, number one, the letter from Board of Supervisors dated August 8, 2013. I don't believe I received that.
That's the cover letter, sir. I
You
believe.
mean the one August
Oh, the email.
7th?
August 7th, August 8th.
Sir?
I have you that file right here. I apologize. I will include it after this meeting's been concluded.
Thank you, sir.
I'll make an annotation in my notes. Any other questions regarding that? Did I answer your question, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that makes us a nonprofit veteran service agency, state of California, certified as a service provider in the state. We are the only ones able to do so. We're the second in the history since 2004 when AB 323 was passed into law. The previous organization was Victory Village as NVSA. We have partnered with Victory Village and become Victory Village. That was a DBA included. We have already changed our name as such to operate inside of this county to eliminate all further confusion on the usage of Amador County Veterans Organization, or the acronym ACVO. We already reserved the State of California Secretary of State. The corporate ID name has been reserved as Victory Village. I will be the CEO of that organization, as I am the CEO of Amador County Veterans Organization. Is there any questions regarding the name of our organization or our certification as a nonprofit veteran service agency in the State of California?
Does that mean eventually you're going to abandon completely the name Amador County Veterans Organization?
We already have, sir.
And go to Victory Village?
Yes, sir.
What is it going to be called, Amador Victory Village?
It'll be Victory Village, and then each satellite location will have the county's location. So it'll be Victory Village Amador, Victory Village Butte, Victory Village wherever we go.
When do you anticipate that happening?
Within the 60-day limit from the Secretary of State of California, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In your certification of the NVSA, is it safe to say that the distinction there is nonprofit? I mean, there's lots of veteran service agencies out there that are certified, but this one happens to be registered as 501c3?
That is one of the stipulations. It is not the purpose. The purpose is to contract with the state, city, and local governments as a small business or disabled veteran business enterprise as far as compliance with all rules, master's agreements.
And get
so
preferential bidding
yes,
treatment
sir.
as a result.
And that includes all services by the county. There is language in there to encourage counties to work with us. And then I believe there's language in our master agreements with Caltrans, Public Health Services, FFA, that we will not discriminate against or make rulings to to block of any kind of small business or disabled veteran business enterprise where they're such as a. I also am the CEO of an organization for veterans in this county, which is a certified disabled veteran business enterprise. It's Mulford Development Group. We're going to be doing contracting in this county to create jobs for our veterans. That goes for both organizations I'm CEO of. They both are certified in the state of California. One is a nonprofit veteran service agency, the other being a disabled veteran business enterprise. Any questions to that?
I think the law says it may be granted.
Yes, sir.
Small business bid preference, not shall.
May, yes. The language is informative.
I have a question as far as, or your cover letter.
Yes, sir.
You made a statement in there that it's confusing to veterans having the Amador County's Veteran Service Office located at the American Legion. Most veterans, and I haven't seen that to be the case. I think if they're confused, an awful lot of them show up those meetings and seem to appear quite happy there. And could you maybe expound on that a little bit, that statement you made there, if you'd be so kind?
Yes, sir. In 2008 to 2009, the grand jury report shows that the County Veteran Service Officer is actually the American Legion. I believe...
Say that again?
So if it was confusing to the grand jury, you're saying...
It was confusing to the grand jury. When I went to the County Veteran Service Officer many years ago, I was under the impression that I was at the American Legion Hall, and then the County Veteran Service Officer was a national service officer for the American Legion, not a county employee. I then believed still until several years ago when I had an issue again where I came to the county and asked for their assistance that he was a county service officer, meaning he was employed by the county of Amador, not by the American Legion. I was under the impression that he was an American Legion member national service officer and that it had nothing to do with the county of Amador.
That's your impression. You're saying most veterans are confused?
Most veterans that come to us for services have the same type of response.
Big difference between saying most veterans, blanket statement, or most veterans that you see, however, whatever that number is, I don't know. But it's just, I think that's part of why we're here today.
Okay.
It's just confusion. I think it's rather unfortunate what has occurred. I think it would probably been more beneficial to veterans, probably even your organization, if rather than coming in and what appeared to me almost attacking our veteran service officer, if you'd have worked in conjunction with them, you'd have probably got a lot better results, a lot better feedback.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I think it would have been beneficial to you if you'd done so.
I actually did, sir. I attempted multiple times, and I kept Supervisor Novelli in the loop in our attempts to work in conjunction with and collaborate with on multiple levels with the American Legion, and was denied. During a meeting held on the monthly meetings, I was pretty much ran out of the room when I tried to come up with my ideas of helping more veterans for housing, employment, health services, and training in our community. There seems to be the discrimination against age of younger veterans and the fact that we do not know what we're doing and that they have an establishment. That was my perception, sir.
I totally disagree with that statement you just made, okay?
Okay.
I don't think you're going to find a veteran in this county that's going to say that there's a discrimination between age at the Legion or at the VCO, Veteran Service Officers of Amador County's office.
Okay, we're all entitled to our own opinions.
One question for you, too. I have, while I'm talking with you, Mr. Mulford. You say you're a veteran of foreign wars, post 3322, on your opening statement to...
Member, yes.
Where's that located at?
Not in Amador County.
I didn't ask you that.
It's located in West Point, sir.
Okay. And the other question for you is Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of Americans, where's that located at?
That's located in, I believe, headquarters... Where's Paul have his headquarters at? It's a national organization, and it is somewhere in the Midwest. It's got over 300,000 members that of the current wars.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
I just want to say back to the Legion Hall. They built that probably in the late 40s, early 50s. And I just turned 60 recently. And I just got to say that the veterans of this county for since World War I, they've all been like one big family. I've been to numerous functions at the Legion Hall for the last 50 years or more. So I think everybody knows where the Legion Hall is and where the Veteran Service Officer is. And the statement earlier, it is correct. The county did make an agreement with the Legion to put the office there because the previous office was not handicap accessible, basically condemned. So it was a good move by the Board of Supervisors.
I conducted a public records investigation last year into to locate leases, agreements, contracts, so forth, to give permission to the American Legion and the county to place the Veteran Service Officer in there. The public records request came back with there are no such records.
Yeah, I talked to after our
What's your
administration committee meeting,
Yeah,
I talked to our county council, and he did not see any issue with us having our Veteran Service Officer located at the American. Us having our Veteran Service Officer located at the American Legion Hall, free of charge by the American Legion Hall.
I agree, and
I mean, it's a natural fit as far as I'm concerned.
yes.
What's the point of the investigation?
What the investigation was to determine what services are provided, at what volume they're provided, so that I could
You
do
were
it.
investigating leases and why they existed there. What's the point of that?
It was a public records request so that I can look into the services that are here to establish my baseline of what is the need of our population and the population of how it's being served currently, and then how the structure of that organization was placed so that we can assist and become a complementary organization that takes all the voids in the services provided in our county and then go forward and make a more complete services for wraparound for our veterans in this community. That was the point. I have another request in currently. That information will be determined whether we have adversely affect the claims processing by Mr. Martin and Mr. Sanders' offices. He did allude to the fact that my website has a 6-month numbers at 67. That's incorrect. They came from the California Association of County Veteran Service Officers as an annual report. I have that information right here. The entire public records request and findings are in this binder. It outlines all the things we're discussing, laws and regulations. Does that answer your question, sir?
No, but
Okay. Why did I do it? Because I needed the information to find out.
you said you were looking to establish
Improve.
what voids and
Yes.
needs there were, and it seems like a more inclusive and collaborative approach would have been to ask the veterans themselves at a meeting as to what they felt was missing in the way of their services.
If we could hold the applause, please, or boos, either way. Go ahead. Any, Supervisor Ornetto, did you have something?
Actually, I was thinking about something, but I think it may have been said, discuss in closed session, so I don't want to.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Mulford.
Okay. So now we've addressed the medical, the ICV on the website. The wording of selected, it should have been not appointed, but a selected. I was selected at a committee meeting by Brad Sutton, the Deputy Director of Housing Community Development. He passed the motion. The motion was then approved, and then I was selected to be the co-chair of the ICV for affordable housing.
Pardon me, sir. Brad Sutton, is that like the Brad Sutton out of like over around Vallecito?
I'm not sure, Valcito.
Yeah.
Brad Sutton's office is in Sacramento.
Oh, probably different Brad Sutton.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. I did talk to Sandy Monaghan following the email. We made contact. All the content of that webpage was directly copied from www.icv.ca.gov and placed onto our website, except for the wording of appointed to selected. We changed that immediately. Applying volunteers do our websites for us. It's over 50 pages. And additionally, we then removed, per County Veteran Service Officer request, all information about his office and all other county organizations that involve veterans. We went ahead and clarified it. We just focused that website directly about our services that we provide to the veterans, and we removed all other things to distract.
I think the point of having all these emails come up should be pretty clear to you that you need to be very careful what you say and what's put down in writing on emails or otherwise, because basically your word's going to be your bond, and anytime a situation appears to be misrepresented, it goes to credibility. So I think that point should really hold true to you, that in the future you need to be very careful that everything is 100% factually correct.
Yeah, I agree, sir. So we address the grand jury. Okay. And I have no comment on Mr. Martin or Mr. Concho. And I have no comment on Mr. Lennox's comments. Back to why I was here. Okay. So, our organization is certified to the state to do contracting with the state of California, and the language in there encourages other entities that are government to work with us. In the administrative meeting last week, Mr. Floyd Martin held up a piece of paper in my face, threatened to sue me, stating a letter from my attorney will be in your mail soon. I recognized the letter immediately. It was a document in my confidential veterans claims file. The letter written was sent by me to Floyd Martin when he was in public office. The letter was the cover page of my VA claim dispute for my disability compensation. It described the sudden tragic loss of my father, the potential loss of my VA benefits, and requesting assistance for my foreclosure on my home. I proceeded to tell Mr. Martin that the letter he was holding was part of my veterans file, which is confidential, and he should not be in possession of it. The current County Veteran Service Officer, Mr. Sanders, was also in attendance. I'm not sure how Mr. Martin acquired my personal file. This is confidential and protected. And after reviewing the document, the County Council advised Mr. Martin not to read it.
Can I ask County Council to clarify that issue now, since he's had more time to look at it than just a spontaneous look at the meeting?
Outstanding.
So I did recommend to Mr. Martin that he not go into that, one, because of some of the content, two, because it wasn't really relevant to why the admin committee was hearing that matter. But I would like to point out that you copied that letter, that exact letter, to several public officials, one being, I believe, a congressman, which makes it a public record. So as sent, it is not a public record. It is not confidential. So I don't think that actually applies. But my suggestion that he not bring it up would stand, primarily because it wasn't relevant to the topic.
What was the intent behind bringing the letter up? Did he have a meeting prior?
I don't think we know what Mr. Martin's intent was. So
Was there a meeting?
hard to comment on that.
Okay. Was there a pre-meeting prior to the committee meeting where anything was discussed or shown?
No pre-meeting.
Okay, good.
There was absolutely no pre-meeting. I'll clarify that.
I'm going to go to a request I had for the County Veteran Service Officer to allow me to be a work study. Did you all receive my email regarding that? You're familiar with the information contained within there? Is there just cause to deny my VA request for work study in his office?
I think Mr. Sanders can comment on that, but
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The law papers that I've read in, I believe, someone's book, I forget what book it is, I believe it might be that big book that Terry has
Yeah,
right there.
538.
It states that the Veteran Service Officer has, who Terry Sanders is for Amador County, has the direct authority to pick or to supervise who he wants in his office to do this. Is that correct?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that the same reading you get?
Yes, it is.
So, having read that, I'm not going to be the one to tell Terry Sanders, as the Veteran Service Officer of Amador County, that someone that I want or someone that someone else wants should work in that office and do those studies. I would want Terry to make that or have some say about who that person might be and have some say about the work course that he wants that individual to do. I don't think it would be me as a supervisor to influence Terry in any way in making that decision.
Okay. In 2008, 2009 grand jury report, it illustrates the need for cross-training of social service employees or other employees of the County Veteran Service Officer due to the increased fluctuation in claims and veterans coming to the office at a rate of 30 per week. The County Board of Supervisors the following year agreed with the grand jury's findings that there is a need for that. When I did my public records request and investigation, I also found a need for that. I'm currently enrolled in vocational rehabilitation through the VA. Part of my goal is to be an accredited claims agent, which I've sent my application in last week. And as Terry Sanders said, within a few weeks I should have my date for my testing. Now, what I did was request in multiple occasions to be allowed to be a VA work study in that office. I've also been a VA work study from the regional office for veterans in San Diego and at the VA Medical Center in La Jolla. They cost nothing to the county. I've already was trained to do it in 2000 when I was in the United States Marine Corps. It has no burden of cost associated with it. It's the only way you can get a free employee in there for 50 hours every 2 weeks. Yes, sir.
When did you first start making requests to be like a work study intern or whatever with a ACVSO?
It was about a week after he took office in person. I was told by Terry Sanders that he needed permission from CalVet in order to approve such position. I made contact with the Chief Administrative Officer of CalVet. She denied that fact, stating that there are no CalVet work study programs in this county, and she has no idea how Mr. Sanders came to that conclusion.
And I think Mr. Sanders has done further research into that, so he can talk more about that. But ultimately, the decision comes down to Mr. Sanders and the county, whether a person gets employed in that office in a volunteer capacity and who that person will be, or whether they are not employed on that volunteer basis. So ultimately, it's a decision for the department and